Last year was more about Dubas wanting to change and Shanahan wanting to stay the course. And this year it seems like Shanahan is finally open to doing anything. I think that was the consensus too, what I gathered. They're open to everything and anything this summer, Rosie.
Yeah, it sounds like it. They're certainly not running it back. They're certainly not pleased. They're not accepting what's happening. They're not being patient. This formula is over, and it's long over. Many people could argue they ran it back too many times. 1 year too many, 2 years too many, whatever you think. But they built something. They had a vision of what could work. They put it together, and honestly, it didn't even fail in the ways that a lot of people would think. They didn't score any goals, even though they put together this insanely high offensive minded core and team. And I think they realized that that chemistry isn't there, that bond that winning teams have is not there. And he also touched on the personnel that they have aren't getting it done specifically in the playoffs, which tells you they're realizing some of these players are too soft for the playoffs. They're realizing some of them are perimeter players. They're realizing that the goals that need to be scored in the playoffs are done a certain way, and some players on this team are not willing to do it that way. And change is on the horizon. At the very end, Shanahan said it might not be their day one of training camp. It might take mid-season or the trade deadline to make it happen. But I do believe that especially after the trade deadline this coming season, this team will look considerably different, at least.
We do have a clip, and thank you to producer Vic for grabbing this from Brendan Shanahan early on in the presser. Here's a bit of what he had to say.
I also respected the fact that Sheldon took on a lot of the responsibility for the lack of results in the playoffs. I respect that. However, the reality of the situation is the ultimate responsibility is on me. The accountability is on me. Our playoff results have not been good enough. That's on me. The results that we've had in the playoffs, our players know, we know, I know, they're unacceptable. They're unacceptable to our fans, and they're unacceptable to all those that support the Toronto Maple Leafs. We do an analysis at the end of every season. We look at our team and we look forward and we look for ways to be better. And we do that every year. In the past, I believe that there are times where you talk about patience. and I still believe that there are times where patience is the suitable call. However, when you see patterns persist, and the results don't change, you have to adjust the way that you think about things. We will look at everything this summer, and we will consider everything this summer, all with the intention of the one thing that we are here for, which is to make the Maple Leafs better and to win.
All right, there you have it. Thank you to Maple Leafs YouTube for the audio and video there. And obviously at the beginning part of Brendan Shanahan's piece, all three had their original pieces and then, of course, fielded questions from the media. But what stood out for me, the ultimate responsibility is on me. The accountability is on me. Our playoff results have not been good enough. That's on me. How about that? Some accountability. We'll look at everything this summer, Shanahan said. We'll consider everything this summer. What'd you make of what Shanny had to say, Rosie?
Yeah, I mean, what was left to do? That's the only thing left to do and say, especially if you're keeping your job. This isn't good enough. I understand now. The same patterns persist. It's not the time for patience. They are going to be open to everything and anything, and it'll be interesting to see, what teams in the NHL give them calls and offer and entertain ideas of how to change the group. Because don't get it wrong, as much as this group didn't, produce together, individually, there's some good players and good puzzle pieces potentially for other teams that have, the ingredients and are just missing X. Say a Mitch Marner would fit very well on their team, or certain players could fit very well on their team. And, I think that there will be some movement. I think you got to have patience with it because that thing doesn't happen overnight. It'll be interesting to see what happens during the summer, but training camp, I mean, I'm ready for training camp to start and people to be pissed off saying what's really changed and what do you expect to be different. But throughout the course of the season, and especially the trade deadline, with contracts expiring and rentals and people trying to make a run, it's going to be a lot of change, and I expect it'll happen kind of more later on than it does right away. But it sounds like the mindset of all the people and the powers that be is that this isn't acceptable. The patterns are there and they're not changing, so we're going to change them for them.
Yeah, those two specifically, Shanahan and Tree Living, talked a lot about the patterns being too familiar to stay patient, which obviously is a bit of different wording than you would have heard a couple years back, even dating back to last spring. They wouldn't discuss JT or Marner specifically. I didn't expect them to, but I did notice, and again, full credit to the media, they were grilling these dudes, specifically Shanahan. He danced around the core four question about 3 or 4 times where he was asked if he believed in the core four, and he just wouldn't give a definitive answer. But I don't expect anything different. I think it was pretty much a business conference, a pep rally, rah, we're ready for summer. But he really danced around the core four question, leads you to believe everything is in play, as they mentioned. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.